Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Live Market Open. Happy Monday. It's November 7th. Today we're going to talk almost only about one topic, the US elections. It's basically tomorrow. I'm Mikhail, I'm Forex Crunch and Market Movers podcast, doing the show as usual for FX Trade. So I want to say hi to everybody. Of course, we'll talk about the US elections, and we'll also talk about give you some information about what happened in the markets, discuss charts and level. Of course, we're talking about Forex, and eventually wrap up everything just so you won't make sort of the quick conclusions before letting you go. Okay, and as always, questions are more than welcome. If you cannot see the chat box alongside the screen for any reason, please go to the address here, tlk.io. Sorry, again, tlk.io/fxread-forex-live-video. Okay, what's going on in markets? Well, the big news from the night is the FBI news. The FBI giveth, the FBI taketh away. So it happened last night. Well, last night here in Europe, of course. Let's just talk about that before we dive into the elections, into the bigger picture of the elections. But Hillary Clinton has these issues with emails using a private server instead of using this State Department email server. She's been haunted by this throughout the campaign. It's an ongoing story. In July, she was also investigated by the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and they reached a conclusion that there's nothing there, no need to press charges, everything is okay. It still hurt her because the FBI, the head of the FBI, James Comey, said that she was a bit neglectful and things like that. But that was back in history in July. Since then, we had so many news from Clinton and mostly from Trump, 3 debates, you name it. But 9 days ago, or no, it's 10 days ago, the head of the FBI on a Friday evening said, Friday evening here in Europe said that they're reopening the investigation because of new emails, apparently from the estranged husband, Anthony Weiner, estranged husband of Huma Abedi, and a close aide to Clinton, and it significantly hurt Clinton in the polls. She was already sliding a bit, already sort of falling off that post-debate high, but that hurt her in the polls. Yesterday, just as markets opened in Asia, the same Comey sent a letter saying, well, we haven't changed our conclusion. Basically, Clinton has been cleared. Of course, the Republicans don't believe it, think she's still guilty. Democrats said we knew it from the start, there's nothing there. It still helps Clinton, of course, a bit, but and let's just take a quick look at the market reaction about what's going on here. So this is a euro dollar. Look how it began with the market gap. So it closed Friday to the upside, even made a false break above that very tough 111.25 line, and started very low. And this morning, early in Asia, made an attempt to recover above 111, but is falling down once again, currently 110.56. And that's surprising because the euro shouldn't have these kind of strong reactions, but, well, it does. So does the pound that had a super Thursday. We'll talk about that as well. And look what a market gap lower made an attempt to close the gap, was unsuccessful, and here we're back down again, 124. Maybe this is a welcome correction in the British pound that rallied very hard last weekend. One more currency before we'll dive really into other stuff and then cover charts in detail is dollar yen, the safe haven of safe havens, up 1%, 1.38%. to 104.50. It closed the week at 103.10, so a very, very impressive jump over there. What else is going on in markets? Okay, what else is going on in markets? On Friday we had the non-farm payrolls, usually a very important event, right? But what's going on? Nothing basically happened there, right? So quite disappointing reaction to the non-farm payrolls. They were basically positive, but they remained a sideshow. The Bank of England had a super Thursday. Sorry, not only the Bank of England, also the British pound. So we had a positive. Let's detail the data here. So regarding the pound. Super Thursday with service PMI beating expectations. Usually it moves the market a bit, but it was such a busy Thursday. The UK High Court, sorry, it's still the Supreme Court, but the High Court ruled that Parliament must decide on Article 50. That means that the referendum is not enough. The UK is still a parliamentary democracy, and Parliament must approve it. Parliament will probably approve it. They will not go against the will of the people, but everything can be delayed. And when markets smell a chance of a delay or even canceling Brexit, they really liked it. And then we had, about 2 hours later, the Bank of England, and not only did they not cut rates, they also said rates can go either way. We can even raise rates. They're worried about the exchange rate of the pound, and they see inflation as higher. So the pound rallied hard. That was a big story for Thursday. It took attention away from markets. From the US elections. Okay. Now I mentioned the non-farm payrolls. I still think it's worth mentioning because after the election dust will settle, we'll still have the US economy, the Fed rate hike, which seems more probable after this release. So the US gained 161,000 jobs, a bit less than expected, but good enough. We had upward revisions worth 44,000. I didn't write that down here, but it's also good news. So September was even stronger. And most importantly, wages. Wages really managed to steal the show. I didn't expect that, but they came from left field, rose 0.4% month over month and 2.8% year over year. That's the best since 2009. Many Americans will tell you that they don't feel their salaries rising too much. And again, this is average, but we are seeing some positive movement. There is higher pressure on the Fed to raise rates. The unemployment rate slipped to 4.9% as expected, didn't have any political impact. And well, another news worth mentioning, if you're trading the Canadian dollar, there was a superb jobs report over there as well, 43.9 thousand. Okay, let's mention a few events that we have towards the elections. Remember, we'll be here also with red eyes on Wednesday morning. But anyway, today there aren't any big events. We had the German factory orders, which missed, didn't move markets too much. Tomorrow is, of course, election day. We'll detail all about that. Then the Chinese trade balance, and then manufacturing output from the UK, all tomorrow before the elections. I believe we will have some impact from the Chinese trade balance on the Aussie dollar, just a bit before the elections, and then in the UK as well. But the big event is, of course, the elections. Okay. Any questions so far? No. Okay. Let's continue. Now we'll do a segment about the charts. Usually we separate crosses and majors. Let's cover everything together and then talk about the US elections, of course, the full preview, the full details. So let's begin from the top. Euro dollar, as I mentioned, we can see the dollar basically moving higher across the board, but not all currencies react in the same manner. Euro dollar had a nice rally and now it's falling. Support is found at 110, 109.60 and 109.10. Let's zoom out just a bit so you can see it. So euro dollar has been moving quite a bit, and below the sort of line in the sand at the bottom is 108.60. To the top side, 111.25 for me remains a very strong line of resistance. It was a double bottom or even triple bottom beforehand. The move late on Friday is a false break, okay? But if we do have a real break, the next level is 112 and then 112.80. Pound dollar, again, Super Thursday. Look what a rebound. This is a daily chart, remember? This is the big fall that we had in the pound and this flash crash, fear of a hard Brexit. Of course, this is post-Brexit, so the high level here is only 135. Anyway, we fell to this range of 121, which is support, 121.70, 123.80, and we managed to break above 123.80 and even move above 125. We can add this line here, the top that we've seen last week. Since then, of course, we're seeing the US dollar gain on this undo of the FBI. So the high line is 125.60. Sorry for that. And support 123.20. Pound yen. quite a move here. As you can see, this candle sticks out from the chart, big market gap. Anyway, 104.60 still line of resistance, followed by 105.50. Above those levels, it's quite high ground. It's a bit, well, I would mention 107.50. On the downside, we have 103.40 and 102.50 down there. Before we get closer to the very round 100 level, we have 101 and 100 on the downside. Okay, dollar CAD also had lots of excitement. GDP employment report. Despite the good employment report, markets were worried. The Canadian dollar is a risk currency, and it fell. Anyway, the US non-farm payrolls was good. So anyway, 134.60 is resistance, and 133.50 also now turns into some kind of support. I wouldn't say that strong. Followed by 132.80, 132.40, and 131.40. Aussie dollar, quite disappointing in terms of ranges, very limited ranges, but 77 is resistance, followed by 77.40 and 77.85. To the downside, we have 76.50, 76, 75.30, and 75. Kiwi dollar, also an excellent jobs report in New Zealand. So all the world is hiring. Good news. 73.60 is resistance, followed by 74 and 75, of course, up there. 72.65, 72, 71.60, and 71 are lines to watch to the downside. Okay, Kiwi had a nice run, but now it all depends on the US elections. Dollar Swiss, we may have seen some kind of intervention by the Swiss National Bank after Euro Swiss fell to deep levels. Anyway, the renewed strength of the US dollar is sending it higher. Also here, some kind of market of a Sunday gap, currently at 97.74, resistance 98.20, 98.50, 99, and of course parity. Dollar Swiss parity worked very nicely as resistance. To the downside, 96.60 and 95.40. It's mostly a proxy of the US dollar, dollar Swiss. Okay, and Euro Swiss, well, the Swiss franc did strengthen. It might move again, of course, in the elections. 108 is the current level, reached sort of the line in the sand of 107.60. To the top side, well, further to the downside, 106.20. To the upside, 108, well, 108.50. I would say 110. These lines here in the middle between 108 and 110 are very, very choppy. Usually the franc traded in very limited ranges around here. Euro pound, here we are, strong resistance 91.50, followed by 90.50. The round number of 90, remember we traded there, but the pound, of course, strengthened, and 89.50, 88, 80, and then 87.20, I would say, is a very strong line. To the downside, I believe that the euro and the pound will more or less trade in tandem on the US elections, so I don't expect this pair to move too much, this cross. Euro yen, of course, moving higher because the yen is more of a safe haven currency, the euro is not. So 115.80 resistance, 117 further resistance, followed by 118.50. Okay, and yeah, and to the downside we have 114.50, 113.80, 112.80, and 112. All right, pound yen, one of the most popular currency pairs. Of course, the yen is falling more than others, so we had a break above this level here of 129, but we couldn't hold on to 130, 132.50. Next line of resistance, followed by 140. To the downside, 125. Not many lines here. This is quite a wild cross, okay? And oil prices, last but not least. We talked a lot about oil in recent months. Now we almost forgot about it. Also moving up on the news from the FBI, but all in all, there are signs that there will be no agreement in the OPEC meeting at the end of the month, contrary to those Algiers accords. Anyway, so we fell quite a bit. Already reached that double top just under 52. Lost the 49 level, which was the high mark in August. Currently under 45, which was a pivotal line. Support at 42.50 and 39, resistance 49. Oil trades together with commodity currencies, risk stocks, etc. And the Mexican peso, of course, worth mentioning. Look what a sharp fall on the day. Look at this big gap. It fell dollar MXN fell 1.8%. I'm mentioning this because of the elections. Mexico is set to lose because of um, if Trump is elected and trade relations are worsened and there's a law. So each time, this is sort of a good bellwether for the mood in U.S. elections. When the FBI story broke out on October 28th, Mexican peso fell. Now there's a higher chance of a victory by Clinton, and the peso is strengthening. Another thing, we have reports on a high turnout from Latinos in Florida and Nevada, so that also helps. Let's talk about that. This is finished our segment about the charts, and before we move on, I see no questions, but I talked about the Latino votes. Oh, before that, with let's now continue with the full preview for the US elections 2016. Of course, we're focusing on Forex. I like to put this picture each time. Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and Melania Trump on Trump's wedding in 2005. The same year where that tape was recorded, remember? The tapes telling us, which Trump basically bragged about sexual assault. So many things have happened since then. Let's, these are the latest news. We talked about that. Clinton plus email plus investigation. She fell in the polls, but now the FBI gives the all clear. This is James Comey, the chief of the FBI. We heard reports over the weekend about massive Latino voting, massive Hispanic voting in Nevada, at least. More so in Nevada, and a bit less reports about that in Florida. Okay, big turnout. Most of them are Democrats in general, and specifically after Trump said quite a few not so nice words about them, including in his first rally, where he said Mexico is sending criminals, rapists, things like that. Many are motivated to vote against him. So, and there's huge early voting in the United States. 41 million people have already voted. Some of them are these Latinos that want to cast their vote against Trump, probably most of them. And some of them are people influenced by Clinton's emails. I've heard that they thought, okay, she's all crooked, as Trump says, and they voted against her. So, and it's hard to estimate the impact of early voting. Of course, there's lots of speculation. Okay, national polls are still very, very close. This is what I wanted to show you here. So this is Nate Silver's 538 website. Basically, 2/3 chance for Clinton, 1/3 for Trump. Okay. So the chances for a Clinton victory have a bit stabilized now, but they fell, if you can see, quite a bit. She had a great month of October. Trump had a bad month. Things changed just before that FBI release. Got worse for Clinton, better for Trump afterwards. And now things are stabilizing, but just a bit. These are the swing states. I like this chart a lot. As you can see, currently, according to their estimations, Clinton leads, but very narrow margins in New Hampshire and Nevada. Okay, but also Colorado is for her to lose. So is Pennsylvania, Michigan, and perhaps also Virginia and Wisconsin. Okay, on the other side, states that are leaning for Trump, but also very fragile: North Carolina, Florida, and Ohio. Okay, and yeah, okay. So these are the latest news. But now let's do some background and give you the bigger picture. So markets usually prefer pro-trade, pro-market Republicans, presidents like Ronald Reagan, okay, or also the Bushes, or someone like Romney, which was in business, or someone more mainstream that will lower taxes and things like that. But this time is quite different. As we all know, this time Donald Trump is not really mainstream. Trump is a wild card. He seems very erratic, irresponsible, and also his views are a bit anti-trade, not exactly capitalistic, not exactly pro-market. Clinton, on the other hand, She's from the left, okay, the left in the United States, the Democratic Party, but she's very mainstream. Her husband, Bill Clinton, signed the trade agreements, NAFTA, and her views are foreign policy are quite hawkish, which means she is more leaning. I mean, many hawkish Republicans, like from the Bush era, are supporting her. So she's not seen as, very, very dovish in that thing. And also her views in the economy are sort of mainstream, boring, unexciting, no change. But markets prefer this certainty over Trump. Okay. Let's get back to the slides just a second. And more things I wanted to show you here are that, yeah, at the moment there's a higher chance, well, markets see a higher chance for Clinton to win. So I've shown you a 538, which is more conservative in terms of not making a clear call. Betting markets have 80% for Clinton, okay? I don't know what the chances are. I know that markets are looking or more pricing a Clinton victory at the moment, especially after this weekend. And it can be an asymmetric response, okay? So if Clinton wins, we'll have one reaction. If we have a Trump victory, the reaction will be much, much bigger. Some say Brexit times 5. The US dollar moved all in all in a straight line. When things got good for Clinton, the dollar moved up. When things got good for Trump, the dollar moved down. But it's not, of course, it's always a bit uneven, and it could be different on election night. If Trump wins, it also has an impact on the Federal Reserve, probably no rate hike and a weaker dollar. And if Clinton wins, there's a December hike, most probably, as the data, as we mentioned, the non-Trump payrolls look good. Next, okay, now we'll talk about 4 groups of currencies that I believe will play differently in the elections. We'll begin with the easier ones, okay? The easier ones are safe haven currencies. The easiest one is the yen. We're also seeing the strongest movement here. So the Japanese yen and also the Swiss franc will probably move down with Clinton and up with Trump, okay? If Clinton wins, it's all clear. No need for a safe haven. If Trump wins, fear grips the market, and these currencies are sought after. Both central banks in Switzerland and in Japan might intervene, okay? So any kind of intervention could stabilize things, especially in the case of a Trump victory. The Swiss National Bank is eager to act and has less political limitations. The Japanese, the Bank of Japan, it's a much bigger market again, and it'll be harder for them to intervene and move markets. The reaction might be even bigger, I mean, in favor of the yen, in favor of the franc, if it's unclear, if it's not a clear victory, if it's a contested election, okay, there will be massive volatility. We had a contested election in the United States in the year 2000, where, Al Gore won the popular vote, but Bush won the Electoral College, but it fell down eventually to 537 individual votes in Florida, and it took months before things were resolved. So that's sort of the worst case scenario for markets and the best case scenario for safe haven currencies. Now, the second group of currencies is the opposite. The clear risk currencies, the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, okay? Commodity currencies, risk currencies, up with Clinton, down with Trump, and of course, even lower with a contested election with uncertainty. That's clear to see it. Specifically, Canada has very close trade relations with the United States. I expect a bigger impact there. That means more positive with Clinton, more negative with Trump. Then the Australian and New Zealand dollars, which have their own things and have more trade with China and Asia in general. Okay, so that's also the second group. Third group, I see it as more complicated: the euro and the pound. So far, the dollar rose against these currencies, advanced against them when Clinton was up, and fell when Trump was up, okay? I believe it could be complicated. I believe that if Trump indeed wins, these currencies will fall because they will join the commodity currency block, and money will flow first and foremost to the yen, then to the franc, and then also to the US dollar, still the reserve currency of the world. So I expect them to follow Trump, contrary to what we're seeing today. If Clinton wins, get more priced in. I believe they could rally just a bit, sort of risk on, but for a very short time, and then refocus on domestic issues. In case of the euro, it's not so good. In the case of the pound, recent news has been positive. So I see here the most asymmetric reaction. Okay, asymmetric reaction with pound and the euro. And the last group is currencies that most of you, I believe, don't trade on a day-to-day basis, at least, but at least we should mention them. The Mexican peso, huge reaction. Again, during the first debate even, not so many people were trading. The Mexican peso went up with Clinton, in the FBI initial move 10 days ago, it fell. Now it's moving up quite a lot. Okay, so that's a clear reaction. Here's Trump with Nieto, the Mexican president. Anyway, Trump, Mexico, to put it this way. And even if there's no wall, just having President Trump could deteriorate trade relations. And another one, even more exotic, the Russian ruble. In theory, up with Trump, down with Clinton, as according to reports, Putin wants Trump to win, and Trump sort of defends Putin. Anyway, it's just more of an anecdote. I would stick to dollar yen, but anyway, conclusions here are, just to wrap it up, this segment about the topic of currencies. If Clinton wins, dollar yen, dollar Swiss up, euro pound, pound dollar mixed or a bit higher, commodity currencies up, and the Mexican peso up. That means dollar CAD, dollar Mexican peso down. Okay, so it's positive for everybody except the yen and the franc. If Trump wins, dollar yen, dollar Swiss, I should put here, will fall, and that means safe haven flows into the yen up, franc up. The rest will go down. Okay. Now let's continue towards the vote. Remember, we're talking here on Monday morning, recording the show. 8 GMT we began the show, and we have still lots of news could still come up. All right. So first of all, many Americans already have voted. 41 million last time I looked. If you want to check last minute polls, I like 538. Most of the world looks at them. Another one worth mentioning is Real Clear Politics. Another one is Pollster.com. We could still have last minute news. I don't know how much they will impact markets. Remember that most people made up their mind. I mean, if you're a Democrat, you vote Democrat. If you're a Republican, you vote Republican in almost all cases. And there's a very small group of swing voters, and the campaign has been going on for so long that most people that were undecided have already made up their mind, and 41 million have voted. Okay, but who knows? This has been one crazy election cycle. Now let's begin talking about election night. All times are GMT. At midnight GMT, that's the night between Tuesday and Wednesday, midnight in London, 1 here in Europe, and 7 Eastern time in the United States. We get some results. These are the times when the time polls close. I want to stress this. Just the times that I'm putting here are times of when polls close. When the polls close, we get exit polls. What are exit polls? Exit polls are when, if you go and vote, you vote in the official government ballot box, you get out of the voting booth, and you're asked by some television network, okay, by I don't know, CNN, Fox News, NBC, whatever, please cast your vote. Also, please repeat your vote in this ballot, okay? And these are the exit polls. Now, these exit polls close usually 1 hour, 2 hours before official voting closes. So once voting ends, the networks, the TV networks, can announce, okay, according to our exit polls, we have Clinton winning here, Trump winning there, okay? These are not official counts, but usually if it's a clear result, if it's not extremely close, these are usually good calls, okay? But they're not the official results. In case everything is very close, we have to wait for the official count, and even then, as we know from the year 2000, it might be contested, it might be too close, there might be a recount. Let's take a more normal scenario. We might have exit polls showing one winner in one state, and then, or in the whole elections, and then things could change. But usually, if there's a clear move, they will call it. The networks will call it for the state. Now, I'm mentioning here, not mentioning all the states. I'm mentioning only the swing states, the most important ones, and we get the biggest of swing states at the beginning. Florida polls are very tight there. Small lead for Trump, but Hispanic voting is up. It's a must-win for Trump. It's 29 electoral votes. If he doesn't win it, it's over. Virginia is a much smaller state, also a must-win for Clinton. And if she loses it, it's still open for her, but much more complicated. It has become tighter over there. So that's at midnight GMT. Afterwards, they begin counting the official votes over there in Florida, at least the eastern part of Florida, and in Virginia, okay? Then we have more results. At midnight, we have Ohio and North Carolina. Ohio is deep in Rust Belt territory, lots of manufacturing jobs lost there. Must win for Trump, he's leading there. And no Republican president, at least recent elections, has won without Ohio, okay? North Carolina, also at 12:30 GMT, is a true swing state, voted for Romney in 2012, voted for Obama in 2008. And again, real results from Florida, from Virginia, from other states begin pouring in. At 1 GMT, we have a big bulk of results. We have Pennsylvania, critical for Clinton, closely fought. There might be some kind of public transport strike in Philadelphia. I'm mentioning this in this Forex webinar because it might be the tipping point against Clinton. Who knows, in a public transport strike in areas where she has lots of voters, mostly blacks, okay? And it became quite a battleground. Michigan, Rust Belt territory, lost manufacturing jobs, Detroit, things like that. If Trump wins in Michigan, we can see markets react, counting in, beginning to see a Trump victory. So that's a critical time, okay? New Hampshire, small state, usually a swing state. Well, in the past, used to be a swing state. Now it's more leaning Democratic, but also there the race is very, very close. So if he wins Michigan and New Hampshire, or if it's very close there, we might see market reaction immediately. And at 1 GMT, you have the western side of Florida and closing the polls, and more all the time, real votes are being counted, of course. At 2 GMT, Biden will have lots of real counting, and we have the big tests for Clinton. Colorado in the west, Wisconsin in the Midwest, challenged by Trump. Minnesota, if Clinton loses Minnesota, then I would say Trump won, because it's all over. And Minnesota, last time that went Republican was 1972. We have more detail and data for Michigan, from another side of Michigan. And we have Arizona, Republican, challenged by Trump, okay? Challenged by Clinton. Usually votes Republican, but more Latino voters. It's much closer than it used to be. This election features many more swing states than previous ones, okay? And at 3 GMT, Nevada, again, long lines of Hispanics going to vote there. Some say maybe has already been won. I mean, this is a picture of Las Vegas, especially in Clark County, Las Vegas area, that maybe early voting already determined the result. It's a small state, but at the moment it's really down the middle over there. At 4 GMT, networks might call the elections, might say, okay, we have enough exit polls, we have enough real data, we see a clear reaction. But remember, the first results come out at midnight GMT. By 4, markets will have reacted, okay? So once it's official, it might be too late to enter the trade. We can even see the other direction. It can be quite messy. Okay. Trade safely. Important mention. Liquidity will be high. It won't be the regular Asian session. Trading desks in London and New York will be staffed. But moves may be crazy. We've seen election, we've seen Brexit night. Here's Trump with the Brexit. He said, "Call me Mr. Brexit." And it could be very wild to both directions. Markets will react before things are called, when they'll get a clear sense of where things are going. Okay, so that's the full election preview. And now let's wrap up the show. Again, this is a special edition towards the elections, not our usual format. We had recent elections are mostly around the elections, basically ignoring the NFP. Bank of England seems long ago. Are positive for Clinton. Basically, the FBI, at least for now, at least until the elections cleared Clinton of the new investigation. Some people have already voted based on what we knew beforehand, that the investigation is open, so it's bad for Clinton. But the last word regarding this affair is favorable for Clinton, bad for Trump. Also, massive Latino voting in Nevada and Florida is helping Clinton, but national polls are very, very close, and there is a high level of uncertainty. But the very recent news, of course, helped. Well, this is the Mexican peso jump against the US dollar. And the US dollar strengthened against the euro, against the pound, and I look at the yen. No need for a safe haven currency, 140 pips up. So it's party in the USA. Markets prefer Clinton. These are the recent news. Again, site I look up to quite a lot, 538 sees 2/3 chance for Clinton, which is not very, very certain. High level of uncertainty. There will be many things towards the elections. Again, markets prefer Clinton. It's also in general good for the dollar because of the Fed will raise rates. Okay, because Trump is not a typical capitalist, not a typical Republican. Four groups of currencies quickly. Safe haven ones. The yen and the Swiss franc will rise. On Trump, fall with Clinton. The commodity currencies will rise with Clinton, fall with Trump. Euro and pound, I see here an asymmetry, down with Trump, but mixed with Clinton and moving on quite quickly. And the Mexican peso, of course, down with Trump, up with Clinton. Okay, so that's sort of the what I foresee for the election in terms of currencies. Basically, it's a risk on, risk off, with the pound and the euro somewhere in the middle. Watch out for more news towards the elections. On election night, watch out for Florida. It might end early for Trump if Clinton is seen as a clear winner in Florida. I don't think she'll be seen immediately as a clear winner. It'll take time if that's indeed the case. Watch out for Virginia. It should go for Clinton. At half an hour later, Ohio must win for Trump. North Carolina could go either way. If it goes one way, it could have a big impact on markets because markets might assume that everything is going in one direction. Okay. The big tests for Clinton that Trump is challenging come at 1 GMT, Pennsylvania, Michigan, New Hampshire, and more Florida. And the two even more tests for Clinton in her firewall, Colorado, Wisconsin, Minnesota. And in Trump's sort of firewall is Arizona. And last but not least, Nevada, which is a small state, but very closely watched. I believe, remember, Networks might call it only at 4, but we'll have a clear picture at the beginning. Markets will react very, very quickly. Trade safely. Remember Brexit. Doesn't mean the polling in the United States is better than the polling in the UK. Sorry, UK friends, but and exit polls are, I mean, it's a typical election. It's not Brexit, which is a one-time referendum, but things can really, really go well. Okay, so I think that's it for today. We covered the elections 6 ways to Sunday and recent developments and everything. I wish everybody safe and successful trading week, days ahead. Today is Monday. Elections are Tuesday, but Tuesday in the US begins later. Stay tuned, follow Forex Crunch. Everything that I told you now also appears in a full article I wrote, so you can also have the text version of that on Forex Crunch, the full guide. All the updates, of course, on FX Street and Forex Crunch. And we'll be here again, same time on Wednesday with very, very red eyes. I won't be sleeping too much that night, and maybe we'll probably have a new president, but even that isn't certain, okay, in the United States, and well, I'm sure we'll have enormous volatility. So thank you very much, and see you soon. Thank you, and bye-bye.